I see more crazy stuff on the streets now than I used to. Back then, there was, like I said, it was a hustle. It was about a means to an end. It was about survival. Now you just got a lot of fucking mentally disturbed motherfuckers and mentally deficient, people walking around. I'm glad that shit is over, man, because it was really fucked up. I mean, all you gotta do is look at like old film footage back then. Like literally half the neighborhood was burnt down, junkies everywhere. Half the fucking people I knew were junkies, and just a lot of fucking crime. Racism was just so normal that it was like almost a joke. Like if you didn't go into other neighborhoods, I mean, I did, but you were always running a risk. If you went into a different neighborhood, you get fucked up by the locals, whatever the they were.
I've seen countless people get dragged out of here, getting their asses kicked all the way from the stage, out this door, down this, what was this alley. Anyway, this is the last piece of New York that really was the old New York.
You miss it only in the cinematographic ways. You miss it in the romanticized, like, oh, it was so special. It was so much whatever. Yeah, there was a lot of creative shit, a lot of, but man, I don't like stepping over junkies in my fucking hallway. That's why I don't even like coming down to this neighborhood, really. It just fucking it raises the fucking hairs on my fucking neck. There's like too many bad things that I can't forget. But again, it gives me a lot of shit to write about. People always tell me, New York used to be so much more, it was more dangerous, it was more this, it was more that. And, I guess in some ways it was. I remember, the Summer of Sam and the blackout and all that shit. And we had a lot of serial killers. We had a lot of all that crazy shit, all the drug epidemics, blah, blah, blah. But, fact is kids got way more guns now than they did when I was a kid. You got way bigger. I mean, back then, you might get shot, but chances are you probably get stabbed or beat up with a golf club or a baseball bat before you get shot. My point is kids today have different problems. They have, I'd say in some ways, worse problems. I don't know for sure because I'm too old to know this for sure, but I feel like there's a lot more gangs now than there used to be. And I think there's a lot more young people involved in gangs and shit like that now. I was about to say you don't have to, back then you didn't have to worry about getting shot by a 13-year-old, but then I'm like, oh no, that's bullshit. I remember someone who did get shot by a 13-year-old. So no, look, man, things are just different now. Kids are faced with slightly different challenges now. They don't know how to fucking interact with each other now. Yeah. Because they're used to fucking living on their phone. They're used to social media. They don't have the same type of people skills that I think people used to have. There's just a lot of things that I think they're desensitized in different ways. I think, there's a lot of fucking drugs now that we didn't have back then, again. So just like even the drugs have changed, the weapons have gotten better. So right there, you got bigger, scarier challenges already. And then the fact that, it's like this crazy cyber world that creates a whole nother level of, anxiety and angst and social issues that kids, when I was young, didn't have to deal with at all.
But we only got about 20 minutes to play. So if you fuck this show up for me, I'm gonna be pissed. Forget about them. I came a long fucking way to play.
I think in some ways hardcore is more aggressive music. Let's not just say hardcore, but music that lets you release all that shit is more important now in some ways, because people don't have that sense of their community is an online community now. Like kids don't fucking, we used to go out and like, try to fucking get in fights, kids sit and fucking watch, porn and fucking play PlayStation now and talk to each other on their phones. We didn't have phones. We used to actually have to go and meet each other. We used to have to get on a fucking train and go someplace. Get together, We couldn't FaceTime each other, We actually had to get the fuck together and do shit. I still take the trains, fuck, Shit was nuts, man. This city was absolutely and but again, I don't know if it's so much safer now, because you got crazy shit going on fucking now, man. Me and this fucking Chinese delivery dude got beat up and pistol whipped in my neighborhood not that long ago. I'm like, what the fuck does he have on him? People pay with credit cards. He ain't even got like cash on him, motherfucker. Like, what are you getting from this dude? Fucking chicks getting set on fire on the subway and shit. You want to talk about crazy shit? This happened last week. I mean, New York has gotten soft in a lot of ways, but at the same time, I see an increase in crazy shit. When I was a kid, most of the crazy shit that happened was money-based crime. Whether they were trying to mug you, trying to sell you drugs, or prostituting, or whatever the crime they were committing, it was because they were trying to hustle. Now, most of the shit that happens in the city is just crazy motherfuckers doing stupid shit that doesn't even make sense. Like that dude setting fire to that chick. And look, man, I'm a fucking black belt, and I've had many fights in my life. The other day, I got out of I moved into 2 different subway cars on train just because I was like, you know what? This shit's getting weird. This motherfucker like looking at me a little too hard, a little too long, and I don't even want to deal with having to fuck this dude up. Like, they ain't nothing worth it to me. I ain't got shit to prove. I want to get where I'm going. Yes, most likely I could fuck this dude up. What happens if he pulls out a knife and sticks me with it while I'm trying to talk sense to him? Fuck this shit. Doors open, I'll get out and get in the next fucking car. Fuck do I care? My days of proving shit, I'd like to think they're over. I think the only purpose in my having survived it would be to teach others what I've learned in the process, especially my kids, because that's what parents are supposed to do. I didn't have the benefit of that. My parents didn't really teach me much except how to f my life up. But for whatever reason, I have managed to be a positive influence on a good number of people. And that in itself, makes me feel like, maybe that's why I survived all this shit. And now let's not, take away that I've been a real shitty influence on a lot of people too. But I think that the scales are starting to tip in my favor. I think a lot of the mistakes that I made in my youth were just based on lack of knowledge and lack of self-esteem, and also when you don't have anybody in your life that believes in you, it's really difficult to do things on your own. When you have a partner in your life, whether it's a spouse or a friend or a team player to help push you forward and to encourage you when you lose your will, or when you're feeling like, I can't do this. It's like, yeah, you fucking can. Yes, you can. I believe in you. I know you can do it. I've seen what you can do. Sometimes that's all it takes, and if there's one thing I can tell other people from my life is that, don't ever count yourself out, man, because things can suck so fucking bad for quite a long time, and then all of a sudden something happens that just changes everything. And then that in itself, that makes all that other shit almost meaningless. Once you feel that triumph, all the defeats are fucking, they don't fucking matter.